The fact of the matter is, whether you've been in network marketing for years or just a few days, your family and friends have seen your opportunity and your phone is, as we call it, burnt. If you're anything like me, that's a scary thought. So the big question is, how do entrepreneurs like us, who love the network marketing profession, who no longer want to be that guy, and are tired of convincing people during uncomfortable let's get coffee meetings where they say, what's this all about? How do we market in a way that aligns us with our dream clients and expands our network of upfront and transparent professionals, allowing us to get our time back, our families back, and gain a real passive asset? People like us who value impact over income, we deserve to see our visions once and for all. Join me in this podcast where we'll uncover just how to do that. My name is Eric Sablon. Welcome to Burnt Phone Marketing. Hey everybody, super fired up today. Ian Lenhart is dropping by, an expert in podcasting, a course creator. In fact, he has a course on podcasting to help you build your podcast network. And he's also, in his network marketing company, has hit the top rank. So please welcome Ian Lenhart to the show. How you doing?
What's up, guys? This is Ian Lenhart, aka Len Jones. I'm stoked to be on the show, Eric. Thanks for inviting me on, bro.
Dude, I'm super fired up. I just watched a webinar with you and it was phenomenal. So guys, this guy is legit when it comes to podcasts. If you ever thought of doing a podcast, if you ever thought of the things you need to do a podcast, get your pen and paper out because he is going to rock the house right now. So just take a listen real quick. Actually, what we're going to do is just talk a little about your backstory. Like, what got you into podcasting in the last couple of years? Because I know it's pretty new to you.
Yeah. I mean, before I try to act as if I'm some sort of podcast guru, yes, I love podcasting. It's amazing. Essentially, a podcast is just a recorded conversation, and we're having conversations every day. So why wouldn't we click record and post it? And I think that's beautiful, right? More people should hear your voice. There's a tribe out there waiting for you. You just got to find them. And getting out of your comfort zone, your little turtle squirtle shell, will get you in a position where you can do that. So background's extensive. I grew up in upstate New York, got actually during my junior year of college over the summer, somebody texted me saying, I have something you'd be dank at. And I didn't know what's good with that, but I knew I was open. I didn't know if I was selling drugs. I was curious enough. Next thing you know, I get sold on a 2-pack of product. I get so hyped up on this dream, right? This MLM deal, whatever. I went downstairs and stole my dad's credit card and put a 2-pack of product on it. I was just lost in the sauce. And then the next morning I woke up as if like it was a blur, and I went back and I was like, hey, Dad, just want to let you know I'm an idiot. I'm so sorry. I did something so stupid last night. Completely regretted it, and then ended up doing my research, got deeper into it, and joined a network marketing company. I was an economics degree, and I was in the right place at the right time and the right opportunity. The opportunity never came to my college. We rented a room out inside of our school, and it was room 527 at UNH Diamond Library, and we threw home events, which if you're not familiar with network marketing, home events where people actually show up to the house and like lecture, which is very rare these days. Everyone's doing it online. But we did home events at 5 and 7:30 every day for 2 weeks. And 6 people told like 5 people, it quickly turned into 30. By the end of that 2 weeks, we had over 55 people in the room. And then everyone had computers with Uvu. Do you know what Uvu is, that app?
No.
Uvu? It's like a crappy version of Skype. So you could have like up to 12, 14 people on at the time. And they were Skyping in all their friends and family from all over the world. And in that little jolt of momentum, our team grew to over 1,500 people in 13 and a half months. Wow. And it was crazy. I surrounded myself with amazing entrepreneurs and good humans, hit the elite ranks in that company. I thought I made it. Thought I just didn't have to work anymore. Which was huge wake up call. Idiot move. Spent all my money like a total dumbass. Like all the mistakes most people make when they get money at a young age. And I was broke. The company ends up getting shut down as an alleged pyramid scheme. That sucked. And it was an interesting time. Although that day, I remember thinking to myself, I had a 1-day pity party, and then I thought to myself, like, what's next? this
Right.
is an amazing platform. I ended up reaching out to my buddy, John Melton, who you recently had on the podcast, shout out.
Oh
And
yeah.
we started touring companies. Next thing you know, we're back in the game. But I didn't make money in my new company for over a year and a half. I made under $1,000. So it was a big deal for me. But I've always done the business part-time. I have a full-time job doing enterprise sales. And I love it. I love traditional business. I also have, the network podcasting gig. So, I see it from all angles. And because of that, I think I have a unique lens on MLM because man, you speak into huge business owners, people from all over, but also business leaders. So there's a lot we can go down into this topic.
Yes, totally. That's amazing. Like you literally got in at 17, like stole your
At
dad's
20.
credit.
20.
20.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
20. So
20.
you got in at 20 and borrowed your dad's credit card and got into the business. It got bit by the bug. Tony Zalecki said, once you've gotten bitten by the bug of MLM or network marketing, you're always looking for that next opportunity, especially if something like that shuts down. And one thing that's weird about that is, I've been through one when one shut down, and it's like once you've been to that spot, it's like I can go there again. It's just going to take a little bit longer, or I'm going to build, like John said in his thing. I got the wounds from that. I paid the stupid tax for that, and a lot of times it's not your fault, but you got to kind of see some of the writing on the wall, man. That's awesome that you got to the top and then went down and then came back up, because I know right now you're in a spot that's pretty phenomenal.
It's cool. It's cool, man. I mean, I think a lot of people get crushed by this victim mentality. I saw it ruin a lot of epic people for years. They just felt so betrayed and they felt so attacked. And right, I mean, for good reason. They built this business. They think it's going to be around forever. All these promises are put out. And that's one of the issues of direct sales is there's very little, wrappage around what people can say. I mean, anybody can join. So
Right.
anybody from Yale or jail, as John says, can become an affiliate. So you
Right.
get some real big old jabronis saying some really gnarly stuff, which just puts a bad taste in people's mouth, which I like to mention that if you're in direct sales, it makes you more of who you are. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're a really good person in the heart and you actually like humans and you're not just in it for money, you don't have commission breath, you like the other aspects. Obviously, everyone wants to make money, but there's the other aspects are what keep you in. If you're just in for money, you're going to quickly realize it's hard to make money. You're just going to go get a job or do something else. But if you're kind of a douche, network marketing will make you a megala douche.
It's true.
It's a prehistoric level of douche. I mean, you're going to spam your friends. You're going to just be a jerk and no one's going to like you. You're going to commit social media suicide. So it can go both ways,
That's totally that. It's the same thing with money. Money does the same thing. If you're a douche before you had money, you're going to be a douche with money. And if your heart is in the right spot and you really want to be that person that changes other people's lives, then yeah, that's definitely going to help you. I mean, and that's what I love about network marketing is it's like it's a compensation tied in a personal development course. Totally. So I'm actually I just watched your interview. I mean, not your interview, but your webinar, and I want to ask you a question on. It's a two-part question. The 4 tips that you would give to a guy thinking about thinking about doing a podcast, or thinking about publishing, or thinking about getting out there and doing the Facebook Lives. I know you told a story about how John told you to do a Facebook Live and you're like, I'm not going to do it. And then you finally did it. And all of a sudden it was totally different. What would you tell, what's the 4 tips you'd give? And what would you tell somebody to kind of get out of their own way on doing a podcast?
Yeah, it's a tough conversation. I mean, podcasting is less stress than, say, going on Facebook Live because a podcast is a recorded deal. Unless you're doing a live podcast, which is very rare in the market, you actually can edit out issues. If you said something wrong, you can edit out issues, which also serves against you when you first start a podcast because you're so embarrassed by everything you say or do. You sit there and your post-production is hours, bro. I would spend 2 to 3 hours taking out every in my podcast for the first 30, 35 episodes. And you can tell it just sounds almost like mixed up. It's not until you feel comfortable that you get there. But just to start off with that question with John, yeah, I was terrified of going on Facebook Live, so scared. I've spoken on stages in front of 10,000 people prior to that, but something about Facebook Live was terrifying. And let me tell you something, before speaking on stage, terrifying. Before even jumping on this Zoom, a part of me is a little bit like nervous. It's just how I am every single time I do anything. I'm freaked out. You know, it's fear. It's just overall scaredness. But then you get to a point where you have to look in the mirror and you have to just understand that there are people so much less talented, so much less deserving, so much less hardworking, that have been through less problems, that have had easier paths, that are out there living your dream. And you're much more qualified to do it. You're just, you know, a freaking tiger that's stuck in its cage. You know, someone's got to release it at some point. And eventually, once you realize, like, oh, damn, I'm somebody, you just become a magnet. It's like that confidence effect. You know, people love confidence. You can walk into a room and you know who's confident in that room. It's just like they display it. So I would say for me, when I did that, I remember I walked around my house for over 2 hours, like went up to it and I was like, I'm gonna hit play. I'm gonna hit play. Oh, no. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. No. And I was terrified of what my friends who didn't do network marketing and didn't do my business would think of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that stops so many people in their tracks.
So eventually you just get to a point where you're like, F it. You know, John, we always mention John here, but John is just, he's a relic. You know, it's to make excuses or make money, right? Yeah. And then once you do it, you realize quickly that if you have good intentions, no one cares. Like if you're a jerk, yeah, sure, you're going to get some flack because you're a jerk. But if you're a good person, do it. And people don't realize how talented they are. Like someone's like, oh, well, I'm not an expert. That's not true. You can go start a podcast tomorrow, a YouTube channel tomorrow, a Facebook Live tomorrow on anything in the world. If you want to become the master chef, I think we used that example. Go watch a YouTube video on how to cook some bomb chicken parm. Learn about the flour, the eggs, the breadcrumbs, the Parmesan, the mozzarella, the 350 for 25 minutes, whatever it may be. Read it and then make a video on it. All of a sudden, you're an expert. You know more about how to make chicken parm than 98% of the people on the planet. And then it comes down to the realization, oh, snap, I'm just not down to do the work, which is okay. Right. I've been in this conundrum for a while, and I'm guilty of what I'm telling you not to do right now. But the only difference maybe between me and some other people is I'm aware of me just being lazy at times. Like I'm aware that my YouTube channel isn't where it needs to be. I'm not getting more people on my podcast. I know what I need to do. The question is, am I willing to do it at the cost of other things? You know what I mean? Right. And I think we're always facing those demons. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's definitely and that happened to me. That happened to me. If you look at the numbers a lot, sometimes you get discouraged. Like, oh man, it's just not exactly where it needs to be. But it's like when you go all in and you kind of really push the envelope on the content and doing it. That's one thing that I've noticed. If you're consistent with something, all of a sudden the muscle gets super easy, and you just start banging it out and banging it out and banging it out. And I think you talked about that on your webinars, like boom, you just keep doing it and continue to do it and continue to do it, and it gets so much easier. Like the content just comes out, and like you said, you could be the best chef and they didn't even try it. Like they didn't even try your food, and you become one of the videos that everyone's watching on how to make chicken parm. Like they didn't even try your food, but you made it look delicious, and you did it better than 98% of the people out there.
True. I think, what was your second question? It was about if someone wanted to get into podcasting.
Yeah. If someone would try, what would be your tip that you would give somebody that's like on the fence about getting into podcasting?
Cool. Well, I'll tell you why I got into podcasting, and maybe it helps you guide you into your personal course. So I was in a predicament where I started doing Facebook Lives with people. I was in a 500 Startups, which is one of the top 3 accelerators for startups. A startup is a name for a traditional business company that receives some sort of funding and maybe it's 3 to 5 people, and they're building a product, launching a product, and trying to become an Amazon. It's a startup, right? One day they could become a unicorn and get super rich. You invest in a startup at the early stages, the seed stages, your 25 grand could become $6 to $10 million. But that's a lot. It's a very, very rare that happens. So there's these startup schools that are built to help you get there faster. It's like going back to business school. So our startup, I was in this startup called TrueFace. It was facial recognition software. So I was the first employee with that company. So it was me and the 2 founders. Ben, I was with them for over 5 years, and we have scaled that team to 16 people based in Venice, and they're rocking and rolling. But at the time, we didn't know what we were doing. We're just figuring it out, running and gunning. And there was all these amazing humans from all over the world. One thing 500 Startups was known for was its diversity. So there were these startup owners from all over the world, different edges of the planet, Spain, Great Britain, Australia, Dubai. So I would start interviewing these people on Facebook. And I was just curious. I was just trying to get to know them. I'd be like, "What up, y'all? Well, welcome." It wasn't Len Jones Party of 2 at the time, What's hey, dude, how's it going? A little bit more nerdy, right? And then I had up my homie that I was talking to, like interviewing them, but while looking at the camera was very awkward. But we did these podcasts, and I was like, eventually, why don't we just turn these into podcasts? So then I did that for 4 episodes. They're trash. If you listen to my first 4 episodes of my podcast, they're garbage. But then I really thought to myself, why do I even want a podcast? And it hit me. I wanted to figure out what I was actually into. If you're an online marketer, you have to pick a niche. The money's in the niche. You can build a community around a niche. You can create residual income, 1,000 true fans, all that. But I didn't know what I'm into. I like network marketing. I like direct sales. I like aquariums. I like rollerblades. I like scuba diving. I like nature. I like hiking. I like climbing. I have a lot of hobbies. I like cooking. What do I want to pick? And I was overwhelmed by that. And I'm sure a lot of people listening might be in the same predicament. So I saw podcasting as an opportunity to just reach out to the most badass, exciting humans that I could possibly reach out to inside of all of the niches that I found interesting, and just ask them, can they be on my podcast? And I thought that what would happen was eventually I would find the thing that clicked with me, that I could just talk about forever and ever and ever. But that's not what happened. I ended up just loving talking to people from all over the world of different edge. And that's what my podcast, Len Jones Party of 2, was built, which ultimately led me into network podcasting, which is, an entire A to Z tutorial on building podcasts. So I would say podcasting is about networking. It's a tool. If you don't have an audience, there's nothing out there that's better for building a platform where you can acquire talent quickly, right? Like you can create a platform, have an audience, and leverage that platform to reach out to all stars and just ask them. If you're polite, great. If you're a professional, even better. And see what happens. You'll be surprised. If you throw Hail Marys, just DMs on Instagram, you'll be surprised at who says yes. The human ego, no matter how big, still wants to talk. Successful people want to share. So my thought process is, if you don't have everyone in college should start a podcast. It's the greatest learning lesson of all time. I mean, just in your short time having a podcast, what have you learned?
And I learned that, like you said about the Hail Marys, I've learned that people want to talk, people want a platform. People want something to tell their story, because everyone will take, not everyone, a lot of people will take an interview. B people, C people, A people, they'll all take an interview. Like this podcast, this interview started from basically a Hail Mary, happy birthday, hey bro, would you come on my podcast? That was it. Guys, you can get the talent, which is really, really where I want to go take this next question to, because you had some amazing people on your podcast. You've had Darren Kidd, John Malott, Jordan Adler, the guy that wrote Beach Money, Brad Lee, Cindy Cohen, Alex Morton, all of these huge people, Todd Falcone. What was the way that you got these gigantic names on your podcast?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's a multi-faceted approach. There's not one simple answer. The best answer ever, if there's one simple answer, it's consistency. If you're consistent, people take you seriously. And we'll get into the kapok tree example in a bit.
Uh-huh.
But it really comes down to looking the part. Number one, look the part. So if I look at your Instagram and if I look at your Facebook, do you come off as somebody that plays with A, B, and C players? Like, is your profile inviting? Is it the brand deal, right? Do you look like someone who takes themselves seriously? If I showed up to you and I wasn't shaved, I just looked, I had a booger hanging, straight, I don't know, whatever. I just looked gnarly. You would take me less seriously than if I showed up shaved and with, looking decent, right? It's damn good, Dad. The idea is you can choose how you show up. So what does that mean? It means create your social media so it's beautiful. If you go to my Instagram at Len Jones, LenJoness, what do you see when you go on that Instagram? Like, what vibe does it come off? Does it come off as somebody that's just free falling? Does it come off does it come off as somebody that's taking this seriously? If you can do that and you can back it up with some professional etiquette, it's kind of not fake it till you make it. It's be it till you become it. People will take you seriously. Wow. And I found direct sales is easier to get. It's like so easy to get badass network marketing leaders on because no one likes to talk more than people in MLM. I found it's more difficult than getting like super bad, like exciting CEOs of private companies, for example. They're not just trying to get on a podcast a lot of times. Like, you have to be more shifty.
And they got to go through like legal and all sorts of stuff. And they're like, they got their guard up a little bit more than like a couple of like the network marketing people that are always on stage anyways teaching.
But those are the people that end up giving such different perspectives on life. Like, one thing, it's a love-hate relationship with MLM. Again, I love direct sales. I think everybody needs to do. It's the gateway drug into entrepreneurship. But there's some aspects that I don't love about network marketing. Not enough for me not to do it, right? Like you said, I'm an elite leader in my current company. I love it. But I don't love that you have to be very public as a human to essentially become a big person in direct sales. I don't like that aspect. It's hard to do it as like a closet builder, right? But in a traditional business, you could be making all the money in the world and no one might never know your name.
Yeah.
Right?
True. So true.
It's all straight business. It's no fluff. Right? So there's different ways of looking at it, though. The exciting part about direct sales is the camaraderie in the community. The only way you make it in network marketing is if you build a community and a culture. Because people, again, it's never, ever the products, the opportunity, whatever. It's always the culture. People will work at a place they hate if they love the people they work with. And I was lucky to meet amazing humans that even joined me in the second deal after it all got shut down. And I was like 23 at the time, very little leadership experience, super naive. But if you build that family, people stick with you. And then all of a sudden, it's super chill because they're just good people you hang out with on a daily basis. Like, my top leaders have become friends of mine and genuine friends of mine. If they were to go do something else, I truly would still talk to them, I would. Maybe I wouldn't talk to them as much, obviously, right? But I'd still talk, like, we'd still be friends. It's all good. If you can build that love with the people, you build a culture into it. There's no more rewarding business than direct sales if you do it right. And it's so hard to do it right. And you got to get burned in order to appreciate it.
Yes, you have to get knocked down. You got to get knocked down hard. You got to get burned. You got to get those. You got to get that stupid tax or get those bandages. Like, getting there, you got to actually like really feel it, because when like, I won't do that one again, or that person wasn't the right person. If I see that again, I'm going to know ahead of time. I'm going to know that. So yeah, you definitely have to get into the trenches and get burned once or twice to know where you're at. And it's a growing. I mean, you're growing as you're building.
And you don't even know what to appreciate.
Right.
Like, when you first join a direct sales company, you don't understand who you're joining. You have no idea. You don't look into it. You don't do your research. It's just the one person who invites you, gets you to sign up as some affiliate to something. And that's all you know. You don't even realize there's an upline. You don't know if they're on your left side, right side, binary, uni level. You have no idea. So you make a lot of silly mistakes at first, which is why it's very, very, very rare to find one person that was in one company their whole life.
Right.
For me, I hit the lottery in the sense that I made every bad mistake I've seen the up, I've seen the down. I made a decent amount of money as a young college kid, and I lost a lot of money. I was an idiot in some aspects. I was good in some others. I took all of those lessons and I applied it to essentially my morals and my code and how I just live my life now. And because of that, I'm not a flashy person. If you look at my stuff, I don't flash stuff around. That's just not my feel. I'm all about good people, good humans. I take that new culture to it and just learn from it. Right. So I would say you have to marry the company, like marry it, like I ain't looking at no other girl. Like, I got one girl. Her name is boom.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Because if you start looking around, it's like the grass is greener and my upline sucks. And then your petty problems aren't even problems. My good friend Dan, he runs this huge company. He's built and sold super successful companies. At 19 years old, he raised $42 million. Took the first cannabis company public, which is pretty sick. And he said that sometimes you have to ask yourself, are your problems really problems, or are they what we call champagne problems?
Champagne problems.
Like, I have so much leads, I don't know what to sell them.
Are you tired of those lame Facebook groups that provide no value? Well, our Facebook group is awesome. Go to unlockthefbgroup.com and get access to our Facebook group, where you will be able to find interviews of top network marketers and Q&As where you can jump in and talk to them live. We also have massive training. We provide a bunch of free tools. So jump into that group. Again, that's unlockthefbgroup.com. We'll ask you a few questions in mini chat because that's what we do, and make sure that you're not a spammer and get you into the group right away. So again, go to unlockthefbgroup.com and don't be a spammer.